Hey everybody, Stuff I Heard podcast. I got Yann with me. We're going to do this right now and I'll introduce him on the audio so this is all sync up. Okay?
Good morning.
Hey, and today happens to be Saturday, May the 25th, and I have a special guest today. I work with this guy and I've known him for quite a while. His name is Yann. Say hello.
Hello. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey. I'm fascinated by you. I was talking about that this morning a little bit, and you and I have talked about this before, but I'm fascinated by the fact that you grew up on a different part of the world and sort of ended up here.
Yeah, so the whole deal was I grew up playing ice hockey back home in back then Czechoslovakia. I was born in '76, and the country split up later on in '92, but it's a different story. I was after the East Bloc went down, the communist regime, and that I actually witnessed and lived through. That I was 12 years old, and I remember quite a bit of it. But I ended up in the United States thanks to playing ice hockey, being drafted by a junior team out of Detroit, Michigan, and I left my home when I was 18, 19 years old, and I never went back except summers and stuff.
Wow. And one of the things that's always fascinated me is the fact that, as a kid, in the 70s, when you went to school and stuff, they would say, oh, we got to prepare for this, possibility of a nuclear strike, and come on, kids, let's get in the hallway and put a book over your head. And
so,
and you think, what? How would that help?
So, gas masks and drills were at least twice or three times a year at schools, and we had to basically had a drill that day. It was announced, and then we went to school, and then there was a bell, and we had to get up, and we had assigned areas for each class in the basement of the school. And part of the drill was we had to get a gas mask and alcohol swabs and clean the mask and then make sure it fits, and then we would have it over our necks in a little baggie, and we would march down to the basement of the school, and we stood there for a while once everybody was situated, and then the drill was over and we'd done it. It's funny you brought it up because that's the part I kind of don't think about anymore and forget, but obviously I remember quite a bit of all of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and back then, we were taught that, there was a real possibility that Russia could launch nuclear weapons at us at any time. You guys were right next to Russia, and matter of fact, Russia pretty much controlled you guys, right?
Yes, sir. We were, part of my country was liberated by the Russian army, which was from the east up to the city of Prague that was still liberated by the Russian army, Red Army. But my city, Pilsen, Czech Republic, was liberated by U.S. Army, General Patton. And so there's few statues and thank you America memorials in my country, and it was May 5th, and we celebrate every year. We actually have a U.S. Army jazz band come and play in the square. There's a lot of groups that actually kept the old vehicles, because U.S. Army, when the World War II ended, they left all their equipment. Wow. They just left it, and people took it, and some of them kept it up, and they have actually U.S. Army parade, because we have a U.S. Army a club that actually keeps up with the equipment and keeps it running and nice, and they do the little bit some parades through the town on May 5th to commemorate the liberation of my city.
So when they did that, they left the equipment or whatever, they helped liberate you, but also I would imagine that for another 30 years Russia still kind of controlled you, even though you sort of celebrated an American victory of helping you guys. You're still like with the KGB around watching you. And
this is so difficult because when I grew up and went to school during the time when we did those drills and the Cold War era and all that, I had teachers at school telling us that my city was liberated by the Russians. Mm-hmm. And I could never understand that as a kid, because I had stories from my grandma and grandpa and pictures of them with American tanks and soldiers. And matter of fact, my mom's side of the family actually adapted a soldier. His name was Keith Harris. What happened? These guys came on the tanks and liberated my city, and then obviously had camps and headquarters in my town as a town they took and liberated. And these people loved them so much that they actually adapted and let them stay at their homes. So they will have to just report for duty, whatever they had to do during the day, but they would come back instead of the tents and camps. They would stay with the families of the Czechs. And my family adapted a soldier. His name was Keith Harris. He was from Memphis, Tennessee, and he kept up with my family. Wanted to actually marry my grandma's sister, but she was already dating her later husband then, and it was very interesting. I got pictures, I got stories, I got letters from him, and he's been in our family history. His name was Keith Harris. I truly cherish this, actually.
Shout out to Keith Harris if you're out there listening.
Yeah, for sure. I believe he died later on in North Korea.
Oh wow.
That's as far as goes what we know about him.
Well, if anybody of his family's out there, know that Yann is still here and still thinking about him.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, wow, that's incredible. And and I don't know anything about what it was like, and I heard your stories from before, about your dad owning a restaurant, and how he was told that they wanted him to be friendly to the people from the east, but also not too friendly. And it's kind of a weird, position of like, we want you to have tourists in here to spend money, but also, don't get any wise ideas kind of deal.
Yeah, so my dad was put in a kind of a weird or sensitive position because he was a boss of a restaurant that was part of the Pilsner Urquell brewery, which is the famous beer, from my country and my city. And so you could go on the tours through the brewery, and then you would end up eating at the restaurant my dad actually ran. And you had, we as a East Bloc country or communist country, we couldn't travel to any Western country. So we could go to East Germany, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria. That was kind of our horizons when it comes down to vacations, or have a chance to go even to any seas or beaches. And but they had a lot of tourists coming from West Germany and other countries that were Western. And my dad had to really watch how he communicated or interacted with those people, because he was constantly watched by the STB, which was the Czech version of the KGB, Secret Service. And I loved spending time at my dad's place in the restaurant, because I just always liked restaurants and the business. And
He ever put you to work?
No. I kind of, I helped a little bit to the waiters in the back, kind of like a little stuff, but I more just hanged out and talked to his people that would come through, and I the staff was friendly, and so it was just difficult times when it comes down to it, because you had these Western people come in trying to be friendly and find out who you are, but my dad couldn't really engage with them because everybody was suspicious back then. So it was
you were telling me about you had to watch whatever channels were issued by the government, or you weren't allowed to watch anything that wasn't in radio. Even you were saying how you had Radio Free Europe kind of telling you the news. They broadcast over enemy lines to say, hey, listen, the world's really okay, and we're not the bad guys, and we're trying to help you. But yet you were nervous if your neighbors heard you. So like if there was a knock at the door, you're like, quick, change the channel, or you'd listen to it really low, and kind of worried that somebody might rat you out or something. And was there like a reward system for people who ratted people out, or what was that like?
Well, the reward system was that they wouldn't mess with their families. I mean, my dad was a member of the Communist Party, because in his position and what he'd done, he had to be. But I had to just be quiet and not say anything for whatever was said at our house, because my dad was, he loved U.S. His idol was President Reagan, and he.
Did he ever sit you down and was like, son, listen, you can't talk about this kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, don't say anything at school, don't say anything. They would have anti-communist jokes, and I knew better, and and you just wouldn't say it. He could have been jailed for it or stripped of his title, because I'm not gonna sit here and say I had a bad childhood, I was unprivileged. No, my dad had a really good position in the society. He ran a restaurant, he knew a lot of people. He was a member of the Communist Party that he absolutely did not believe in, or it was just part of the deal. Because if you were ever asked to have any kind of a position, if you had a higher position, you had to be a member of the Communist Party. If you would refuse, you would be, doesn't matter what your education, you would have a low income, just whatever job, and they would mess with your family. It happened, and then as far as they would prevent your kids going to college, and just they would really just could destroy and control your family.
So it's sort of like blacklisting you.
Oh, for sure.
They would just put your name down and be like, all right, screw this family.
Absolutely. No, I mean that's how it was. That was just it was all about being part of the Communist Party and doing what they want you to do and believe what they want you to believe. And the proof that my dad never done anything wrong, and that he was in the party just because nobody knew what's going to happen. We thought we are going to live in communist forever. I mean, you just wanted to have
you sort of pick out your little place in life, and you go, I'm gonna keep my head down and just kind of fit into the grooves here.
Exactly. So when the communist regime fell in '89, when the Berlin Wall and all the East Bloc went down, my dad actually went on his own and founded a distribution business with beer and other alcohol. He did quite well, and my dad never been treated poorly. Nobody turned back on him. He had the same friends and everybody, because he never done anything wrong. Vice versa, he would help. He would give people heads up. He said, they are talking about you. You need to just not to do this and that, because you might be a target now. You watch what you do. So the transition for my family from communist to democracy was pretty smooth. There was some haters and stuff because they didn't know my dad that well. They just saw that he was a part of the Communist Party, but there's a lot of people who were, and weren't bad.
And I would imagine, I'm thinking about the fact that, here in America, we're taught to speak variations of English, redneck or whatever, and sometimes Spanish, because we have a large influence of Latino folks here. But being where you're at, you were telling me that like you had your own language in the Czech Republic, but you also, I would imagine, have to learn to speak Russian right away because they're there and they're a part of your daily influence. And I feel extremely lazy in the fact that I only have one language in my stupid head. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, I can pick up some different things from different languages, but you right away from birth had to learn languages on a broad spectrum to just be able to navigate your environment.
Yeah.
And you were talking about with hockey, right away you get picked up by teams and you're traveling to different countries. I think you said you played in Italy and Germany and France, and I was like, wow, so like even to just do your job, you had to learn to speak their language in order just to navigate that. I mean, how difficult was it? Or was it like one of those things of, Jesus, I gotta like become buddies with somebody who speaks my language and theirs to help me figure this out? Or was it natural, or how was that?
So, speaking of the Russian language, that basically was the language you studied at school. There was no other language when I grew up during the communism. Okay. It was they were, in my country stationed. They had army bases in '68. When they invaded my country, and the only language you could study was Russian. Again, a lot of people would take private lessons and would study other languages, but again, they became suspicious. Oh, does he want to defect the country? Does he want to spy for other country? Whatever. But there was still a lot of people doing that, but you couldn't really advertise it that you're learning other language. German, I learned a little bit because we could travel to East Germany, and we had some East German friends. They were obviously a communist country, and so we always had German in our near sight, and it was easy to pick up. And especially after I played in Italy, I played in northern Italy where it's a German-speaking part of Italy, and I really greatly improved there. So now my wife can testify when we went back to Europe and Germany, I really can get by and understand and speak to people. And I kind of like German language. Other languages, Slovakian language is not really that difficult because it's super similar to our language. So I would say, besides English and Slovak, which comes naturally, I would say that I have a knowledge of Russian, and I consider myself pretty good German speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been gone from there now for quite a while, right? I mean,
Since
when did you said you left home in
95.
You were 18?
95, so 18, 19.
Wow.
95, so 24, 25 years, and finally became a citizen a year and a half ago. So
That must be so weird to think, I grew up as a kid with this idea of a land far away, and all these years later you're like, screw it, this is home, this is where I'm going to be. I mean, to think that whatever piece of dirt people grow up on, most people never move more than 50 miles from where they're born. Most people never travel more than 100 miles from where they're born. And you were like, let's spin this globe and see where it lands. or was it like, I don't know, I'm going from this job to this job and we'll see what happens.
So it was kind of controlled. I grew up playing ice hockey, and that's the reason how I ended up in the United States.
You had to be good, otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I guess because if you consider the amount of people playing hockey and actually at one point of their life making a living doing it, then I guess the percentage is pretty low, even when you look at NHL and professional teams. So I was not drafted by NHL team out of juniors, but I had a couple NHL contracts, two-way deals. Never played in the NHL, but I played 13 years professionally. I would not change it for nothing. I had a great experience, and I made money doing something I loved doing, playing hockey. And I've seen and met a lot of people, and I don't regret it. It really truly enriched me because I got to go and meet people and see places and culture. So I'm grateful for that. I wish I would travel more now, but I do what I do now, and I don't.
Did they give you options anytime on, hey, we're going to think about trading you to so and so? You're like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, let's do that.
Actually,
Or was it like you just get your papers and you're like, here, you're going to so and so? You're like,
yeah. So I came here and went to different teams, play for different teams, and I guess I was the guy that nobody ever wanted to really trade, because even I was there for one season and then re-signed somewhere else. I guess I was a pretty good teammate. I was a captain on a few teams too and stuff. So I wasn't the guy that you wanna maybe get rid of, which was kind of nice. I can say that I never been traded in my career, so that kind of speaks for.
Well, I know working with you. I mean, working with you, I can tell you that a lot of it is your personality. You're very easygoing. You're easy to talk to. You're a hard worker. You're definitely a leader automatically. You have that in your DNA. It must come from upbringing with your dad around, and
I really appreciate it. It's a huge compliment.
But it had to have translated through every job that you've been through. Of, hey, this is the guy we want to kind of be the cornerstone of our team. He's going to hold people accountable. He's not afraid to get in people's face and say, listen, do your job. This is what's needed. But also, you do it. You're also kind in a way that you understand that you're talking to people and you treat them very well. So that has to be part of it.
Yeah. My dad always had a leader positions at work, and he never was a guy who would yell or snap at people. I never seen him do that. He got upset or whatever, but he got it done different ways. He was kind about it. He said what he had to say and what he didn't like, and I mean, but if you didn't respond the way he would like you to, I mean, there was consequences, but they weren't like throwing stuff around and yelling. It was like, you're gone or pay or whatever, but I'm gonna get it done somehow. But I'm not gonna waste my time yelling at you. As you said, I don't like going right away to the top and bosses or whatever. I'd rather have a chat with the person and say, hey, this is not working. Like, you gotta do this and that, because this is not how you operate here. And and I tell them, if or somebody, I would say, and I do say, you gotta do this or that, or next time if this is not working, I will have to tell somebody and report you. But I'm giving you a heads up. This is maybe you're new and understand, but you gotta pick this up and then do this and that better, or do it. And if you don't, then
Is
there's gonna be
captain-
consequences.
Is being captain on the team voted on by your teammates, or is that something that your coach decides on, or how does that work?
It depends. Some teams and some coaches do it different ways. There was times and places where the coach decided who captain was by the seniority players,
Mm-hmm.
or there is a vote on a team, what do you call it? Anonymous vote. But as I learned through my career, I don't like anonymous vote.
Yeah.
I want the coach or maybe some of the top players decide who the captain's gonna be, because anytime there was anonymous vote, it was a bad captain, because the buddies and the cliques on
Like
the
a
team
popularity thing.
will decide who's gonna let them get away with the most,
Okay.
and the most going out guy and doing this. And
Yeah.
so I've been on a few teams where they elected a captain this way, and it was one of the worst experiences I ever had. And so that I just prefer the coach do it
Yeah.
and say this is the guy, because a lot of people will tend to pick a guy that they can walk all over,
Yeah.
and he won't get in their face, or so
Sort of like if they want to have the run of the team, they'll pick the weakest guy. They're like, I can run all over him. I can
exactly
break curfew. I can do whatever.
Exactly, that's their biggest leader going out and whatever. And I don't mind. I always told guys, hockey has a big culture of going out, having drinks and beers, and then play hard and but
play hard, work hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Like the Marine Corps.
yeah, and I had guys that I captained, and I loved them. They were the guys who would party the most, but they would come to a practice and they were the hardest working guys in the practice. They were the hardest working guys during the game. And I always told them, I said, listen, I don't care what you do for your time. You don't affect my team and our success and our money and bonuses, because you're going out and you actually help us, and I don't have a problem with you. But as soon as I see that it's affecting your performance, then we have a problem. And you're gonna get one warning, then I'm going to the top.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about injuries. You had a lot of injuries playing hockey?
I was super lucky playing hockey.
I can see your nose has been broken a few times.
Well, yeah, for sure. So the only major injuries I had was my wrist. I broke my wrist, but it was when I was still growing up playing juniors back home. I actually had to have a surgery in France. We played in France. Yeah, Rouen, beautiful city, a lot of cathedrals.
Is that from the ice or from a stick or?
Actually ran into a guy and my wrist kind of turned the wrong way and broke it. So no slash.
Did it break the skin?
No, it didn't. But I was surprised it didn't, because it was really like the where your hand meets the wrist, the bone on the outside was just really sticking out. So
were you like right away like, oh no?
I felt more than anything than I just kind of felt pressure, and I just threw my glove off, and I looked and it was just looking weird.
Yeah.
And
they had surgery on that.
yeah, they put 2 pins in it. And funny story, we went with a guy who used to coach in France from my city. He was from our city, so he went as a guy that knew the city, and he kind of got a tournament set up for us to play in France, and he went because he spoke French and had buddies and brought us there. Well, back it was right after the communist regime, and we had a kind of a weird injury. I don't know if I was even injured. Most likely I would have to bus all the way to check to have a surgery or whatever. Well, that's when Pilsner Urquell beer comes in place, where he had a lot of friends. He was a terrific guy in France, and one of his buddies was a surgeon, and he had his own clinic. So he said he's got to have a surgery, but the insurance won't cover it, whatever. He came into the hospital at night, opened, and got a surgical team together, and actually had it operated on me, put the 2 pins in for case of Pilsner Urquell.
Oh wow.
The team waited for me on the bus outside. As soon as I woke up, they
At
put me on
13
the
years
bus.
old?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
No, I was 16.
16?
15, 16 maybe. And they put me when we went home. Yeah, so a true story.
Wow.
Okay, so
Holy cow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
But other than that, injuries, I just had a couple knees like MCL, ACL, just sprains and stuff. So when it comes down to big injuries and being sidelined for a long time, that I was lucky.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Couple teeth, broken nose, but it doesn't.
Couple
yeah.
teeth.
yeah, that doesn't count really in hockey,
I guess it comes par with the course,
Yeah.
You always see. I never played hockey. I didn't watch hockey too much, other than the highlights on ESPN.
Yeah.
And it's always like, all right, gloves are off. We're punching each other in the face, And it was.
I mean, I don't want to sound like this and whatever, but isn't it? It's just a great sport. What other sport? What other sport can you just go against the guy, throw the gloves off, try to take his or other people's heads off, and then you go to the penalty box for 5 minutes and you're back in the game. I mean, I think they're trying to kind of get the fighting out of the league, but I think.
Well, I raised 3 boys, and I told them, I said, in your life, you're probably going to fight with other guys because you're always trying to fight for dominance or whatever, or, your opinion stronger than their opinion, or somebody hurt somebody's feelings. I said, but the weird part about guys is we can have fist fights and then be buddies later.
Oh, yeah.
There's a guy I physically had a fight with, and he and I are still friends today. And I'm like, we were just fighting over this dumb girl, and she didn't matter. Why are we so pissed off at each other? We actually have a lot in common.
Yeah, and that's how it is in hockey. Like, there's guys that you fight every time you play them, but then, they stay overnight in the town and whatever, and there's beers, you just go and have beers. And
do you ever find yourself like on the same team with someone you had a rivalry with?
Oh yeah, for sure. But at that time, you really do find out that it's probably the nicest guy you ever seen. Or
he just had a job to do.
He had a job. That's exactly what it is. Unless you do something really just against the, unwritten hockey code.
Yeah.
Then and you keep doing it, and there is only a few guys you really dislike, but mainly it was not their play or how they played against you. It was just their personality.
I would imagine that a lot of it is I want to stop you from being awesome, but also I don't want to end your career. Like there's like you said, the unwritten rule of I'm not looking to like seriously injure you, but also I do want to stop you, and I do want you to think about the fact of I'm coming and you're gonna like flinch a little bit.
And a lot of guys, kind
of like football.
Yeah, well, it's I guess I'm guilty kind of because there was times where as long as I would do a clean hit or check, and I would not end his career but injure him, I would be okay with it. I had to admit it, but there was guys that I really did wanna injure.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't resort to anything dirty or whatever. But
right.
If I could catch them clean and injure, I would be okay with it. And it's funny. It came later on in my career when I was kind of just the older grumpy player, I guess. I don't know why, but I just wanted to.
I would imagine that
injure people for some reason.
We're learning a lot more today about brain injuries and stuff like that from football and from soccer, and you hear a lot about that from those 2 sports. But I imagine it also comes from hockey. I mean, you guys are taking hits really hard with each other.
I mean, there was there's former players a lawsuit against NHL. I don't know if it, and I want to say it ended, but especially the fighters, the enforcers and stuff. And I did quite a bit of it in my hockey career, and I disagree with the lawsuit. Because these guys signing contracts and know their role on a team, they know they're gonna go and they're signed and they're there to be fighters, or not as much anymore in this time of the NHL. But why would you go and accept the job and knowing your role and then try to go back and sue somebody because you got punched in the head and you signed up for it? And I understand.
Let me reset this at the camera because it only goes for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I understand, but I've been in a situation where I got in a fight, punched in the head, and I knew I had a concussion, but I was on the walking the line on the team, and if I would say I'm injured, maybe somebody else would jump in. I would have to skip a few days. I definitely had a concussion. I never told anybody I played again because I didn't want to lose the spot on the team, because I knew it might happen because I was on the bubble. But at the end, it was my choice. Nobody said, don't tell them because you won't play, or you gotta play, or nobody said that. I knew that, and I don't know if I have
like
any.
you said, you got lucky. You didn't have those injuries that continued. But there's probably a lot of players who, I mean, you hear about football players who say that they constantly have ringing in their ears years later, and to the point that it drives them crazy and they commit suicide. And the Junior Seau, right away I think of, he shot himself in the chest and put a note, "Study my brain." And I'm like, Jesus, how many players are out there kind of in the same situation?
A lot. I mean,
and like you said, with hockey, it's the work hard, play hard mentality, and drinking kind of goes hand in hand with the boys' club of we're going to hang out, we're going to party. I wonder how many of them get to that point in their age where they're just like, I'm just going to drink every day because the drinking at least quiets the noise in my brain.
There have been so many cases.
Yeah,
I played with a guy who overdosed on painkiller. Started with being a tough guy with New York Rangers. His name is Derek Bugard. Big man that you would never think that can get hurt or something could ever happen to him. And he ended up getting concussion, and then he couldn't play. He got some prescription drugs prescribed, and then it just snowballed, and it resulted in his death.
Wow.
And there is many
Oh yeah,
suicides
sure.
and overdoses. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is the idea of, yes, I'm going to play a dangerous sport, and yes, I realize I can get hurt, but also you do it for the chance to at least try. Like you're good enough that you got to play professionally and travel and make a career of it, like you said, getting paid to play a game you liked, and with the understanding that, hey, I could be injured, and then what? Was it ever in your mind of, if I do get injured, what's next? Or was it just like, nah, screw it, this is working out, let's just keep rolling forward?
Yeah,
Or is it part of getting older that you start later in life thinking, all right, at some point, I got to face reality, and this may not be the end game for me?
I kind of...
Because, I mean, you had to get to that point at some time because you're not playing now.
Yeah, I sacrificed some of my education, or most of it, to chase the dream of playing professionally and, obviously making the NHL. That didn't happen. I wish... I don't know if I would change anything. I don't think I would. The only thing that I would change is, I ended up in South Carolina for several reasons, but I wish I wouldn't end up here for only... And I like the state, I like my life now, and I don't complain, but I wish I could stay in hockey. I wish I see a lot of friends that actually made it as assistant coaches in NHL, or even head coaches in NHL, or doing hockey schools and stuff. And obviously the opportunity in South Carolina is not that great.
Right.
So I have friends in Michigan and the northern states where hockey is popular, doing something with hockey and making good living and enjoying what they do. And I that's the only thing I regret, is that I couldn't stay in hockey in any kind of form, because I think coaching or scouting or doing anything like that, I would love it, and I think I would do a good job. That's the only thing I regret. I don't regret, really. It's funny to say, kind of not getting the education because I was chasing the NHL and the professional. So I was kind of the typical guy. But yeah. I never said to myself, I don't need school, I'm gonna make it to the NHL, and if I play just only 1 year, I don't really have to, I'll be alright.
Yeah.
I never said, I knew there is the chance of not making it or doing it, but at the same time, I knew that if it doesn't matter what, I'm not lazy, I have a good work ethic, and I will not be on the street, I will make good living. Yeah. And in the end it happened, so.
You got lucky. I mean, we all get lucky at some point,
exactly.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so either way, staying, in hockey, which was the plan, that didn't happen due to life circumstances, and now, I work for a good company that pays well, and I have stuff that I always wanted, and if I don't have them, then I don't really need them, and that's it.
If Florence, like our little area in Florence, South Carolina, if we had like a youth program startup with hockey, do you think you would like to do like maybe a part-time coaching thing of, I'll teach some kids how to play, and this would be fun to do like on Saturdays or after work sometime?
For sure. I would be interested.
That would probably be a real job or possibility if you were somewhere like Michigan or Ohio or something like that.
I have a friend who lives in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, and he grew up playing hockey with me. He's from Czech. He never made it professionally. to play hockey. He has a hockey school. He does it with former NHL players. He coaches private
cool.
lessons. He's doing great. Like, I'm so proud of him that he actually done it. But, you know, just imagine with a little bit of more of my experience that I played higher levels and professionally. He never did, and he's doing so well. And I'm proud of him. Obviously, I tell him every time, I'm so proud of you. He has his own hockey school. His program he coaches, and he does extremely well. So, you know, that sometimes tells me, you know, that would be probably something I could have done. And he always tells me, if you ever want to, just and you're done. If you want to move, I hook you up, you know.
It's kind of a neat idea.
Yeah.
Because I'm 45 now, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to retire at some point, but, you know, at what point do I go, well, what do I really want to do? I mean, because obviously, you know, we're doing okay financially now, and, you know, thank goodness for the luck of the draw and for, you know, good health and good organization and whatnot, but also, like I said this before, there's nobody working where we work who, as a child, would go, I'm going to roll groceries one day when I grow up. But it worked out, and it's one of those things where I think, okay, there's some things I wanted to do, but in a way, I'm sort of doing what I feel like I'm drawn to do. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's our job being physical. I feel like I get the exertion that I need. I'm faced with problem solving every day, which I need.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I needed it, but I need to figure things out all the time in order to feel like I'm worth anything. And you know, you hear about people all the time who have like office jobs and they go crazy. Like they start doing jujitsu in their 50s, and you know they need a physical challenge. They need something to motivate their body and their mind. Otherwise, they're going crazy. And you know, these are the guys that are like, you know, we're going skydiving now. It's like, why? Why would you want to do that? I need that challenge. I need that fear. I'm like, okay, have fun with that. I'm not doing that.
You definitely get it at work sometimes. That when you come home and said, I need to calm down now.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I got my
I've got everything I needed to do physically in this giant man body, and now I need to just sit down and listen to the birds tweet on the back porch. And,
you know, that's
just,
definitely for sure. That was yesterday.
Just enjoy it, and you know, I think there's like a weird balance there, and like you said, you know, if that was an opportunity to be a coach, you know, for some kids or something like that, that would be obviously very fulfilling for you. But it also may inform you of something that you want to aim for in the future, of you know, kind of seeing if that's an option in the future. I don't know, man. Our area is growing so fast. I mean, this town, when they did the census back in 2016, we had 39,000 residents. And in the last 3 years, I think we've doubled that because of all the industry that's moved here. This elevator moving here brought a ton of people. You know, our area, just our job alone, I think we've doubled the amount of drivers we have. And I mean,
we for sure did, because I can't believe how many we have now, and I remember how many we had when I started. So it's crazy.
I mean, and the Civic Center is now the Florence Center, whatever that's.
No, they did an awesome job. I've been inside.
But it's beautiful, but also it's like, you know, you guys still have the ability to have an ice rink in there, and this could be a possibility for the future of,
I know,
like a youth program. If someone were, listen, if somebody out there is listening and you got some money and you're thinking about, you know, I'd like to see some hockey like going on for youth, you know, think about this. You know, you got a guy here who knows what he's talking about and would like to coach and could possibly do it, you know, on the side or at least help you organize it and figure out what you want to do, and that would fulfill a lot of needs for kids to have something to do, so that they're not, you know, sitting in the house playing video games, or, you know, taking pictures on Instagram that you don't want on there eventually, because you're either going to grow up one day and go, oh my god, I can't believe I took a picture of my butt, you know, or whatever.
Aren't we lucky we didn't have that?
Oh, yes, I am. I am. I was stupid when I was younger.
I know, right?
I'd be having to hire somebody professionally to erase my history online and be like, we got to get rid of all
that
this
would be
stuff.
A lot of
you know, but today's kids have a lot of those challenges, and if they had something, you know, like we've all heard how sport helps kids grow in confidence, and how it helps them work as a team and accomplish goals together and learn what it's like to win and also lose, and to roll the punches, because in life you're going to have a lot of challenges, and you know, sports like hockey and all these other sports that are out there right now, they all help you figure that stuff out. But you know, we're in a unique position here in our small town in the South of having a ready-made hockey experience that is here, that we used to have a hockey team, the PD Pride, and you know, it went away for whatever reason, but I'm kind of curious why our area doesn't think about maybe having a youth program involved. we we have a lot of industry that's moved here from the north, and I would think that there's a lot of families who are also like-minded and thinking, why don't we have something like this? So anyway, if anybody is listening and you have contact with somebody at the Florence Civic Center or anybody who wants to see hockey, happen, how about spread the word and talk about it and maybe make something like this happen? And you can reach out to me or Yann, or if you need to reach Yann, reach out through me. I mean, if you don't know how to get in touch with him. And maybe we can see something like that happen here. And I kind of feel like if you have anything in life that you want to do, the only thing stopping you from doing it is doing it. And doing it requires steps. The first step is always the hardest. And I heard on a podcast one time, this guy said his wife told him, if there's something you want to do in life, you got to say it out loud first. You got to say, this is what I want. And then you have to keep saying, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And you can't stop from saying that until you achieve your goals of what you want. And that's like with anything in life, like you were talking about as a child. You wanted to play hockey professionally. And you realized, hey, I'm pretty good, and if I keep at this, I can make something happen here. It started with you thinking that thought. So if you have in your mind right now, hey, I'd like to maybe coach a youth program or be a part of this and maybe make this happen. You start putting the word out there and saying, hey, I'm interested in doing this. And is there anybody that has anything to do with it or could influence somebody into doing something like this? Who knows? You might be the guy that started youth hockey here in Florence.
Well, I think especially now with the northern companies coming here and stuff, and there's a lot of people moving down here. They like hockey, and I don't think that sponsorship wouldn't be that big of a deal if somebody puts their mind into it. And look at the area around the Civic Center or Florence Center. That just grew is crazy. I mean, all the businesses and hotels and stuff. So I think that would work. It's just a matter of time somebody actually putting the money up at first.
And it wouldn't be like you'd have to quit your job. I mean, it's one of those things where you could do it in the evenings when you're off work and on the weekends. And and if it grew into something more eventually, then fine. I mean,
exactly.
But right now we're kind of in a unique position of our job is just our job, and we do it and we go home, and we have time after that we can do other things. Which is, kind of why I started this stupid podcast, because I have all these, I don't know why, but I have this crap in my head I can't seem to not get out. I have to talk about it. And my wife's like, I don't have that. And I was like, yes, you do. You just don't realize it. But, she's already been on here twice, because, the first time was my birthday present. She was like, cool. I'll be on there for your birthday. The second time, she was like, I want to do one Saturday. I was like, what? She kind of surprised me. Yes. She did the second one, and I was like, okay. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that are left unsaid, especially between men, that they just don't say. They don't attach to their feelings. They don't communicate well. They shut themselves off from life. Right now, for men of our age, the number one thing that kills men of our age is loneliness. They commit suicide because they feel lonely. Because as men, you're taught your whole life that you're not supposed to talk about your feelings. You're not supposed to associate with other people because you're always on guard of threats or whatever. And so we isolate ourselves to a point, and there is a large number of guys who are our age who commit suicide on a regular basis, and it's just that. So
it's okay that sometimes at home I snap and let it go. It's okay. 2 points. Maybe.
Let
it steam up, right?
But it's like, I thought, okay, well, what if I start talking about it on a regular basis? And what if I start mentioning the fact, that we all kind of go through seasons of depression once in a while? And what if I talk about the fact that, we're all trying to figure out what it is we're supposed to do, and we can all build a community just through action. There's nobody standing around and going, all right, guys, like when you were a kid and you had school, you go, okay, we're going to organize now, we're going to have this little thing. And, and you're like, okay, yeah, whatever. And you didn't want to do it, but once you got involved with it, you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. As an adult, you're like, all right, good luck.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what do I do with my time now? What do you mean, good luck? What am I supposed to do?
And,
it's kind of up to us. I mean,
it's funny you say that because, I have days when I just don't feel it, just whatever, but I always find out something to do outside in the garage, even just a little bit of a stuff to clean up, and it just that little thing makes you kind of like feel good and accomplishment that you just did a little bit. Mm-hmm. It snaps you out of it. It's just the way. So that's what I try to do. Like even Sundays are the worst because the weekend is over and I gotta get up at 4 and go to work. So that's my day usually actually that I accomplish the most around the house. And that's actually me fighting the depression.
Saturdays are the day where I feel the busiest because I usually have a lot of things to do on Saturday because I have the whole day off. And then even before I know it's Sunday, I'm dreading Sunday because I usually know I have to be in bed early, so there's things I can't do. And I know that I have to be done with everything by a certain time. So, okay, no caffeine past this point, and you're all the grown-up crap your stupid brain's telling you. And you're like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna hate life Monday. So I gotta Sundays to me is just preparation, But I've got church in the morning. I volunteer at my church, and there's days I'm not feeling it when I'm going to church because I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to lay in bed. I want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. I want to mess around with that thing in the garage that I've been working on, whatever it is, but it's like, no, I need to do this. I need to be out amongst the people. I need to communicate with others, and even though there's these tasks that I've kind of given myself, there's nobody holding me to a fire to do it. I feel like I have to do it in order to at least have that communication with people that I wouldn't normally communicate with, and that's, to me, that's one of the biggest things I get from going to my church is. There's days where the message is good, and I'm like, oh, that really hit home. I needed to hear that. It helped me think about this thing in my life that I'm trying to figure out. But more than anything, it's about some of the people that I've come into contact with, and like we're talking about, with school, you're always around those people, and you're like, oh, I'll make friends with these people because I'm always here. It's kind of that way with anything. I mean, if you're in a church or if you're in your work group, you tend to make friends with the people you're around. You're not just on the internet being like, hey, Ghost 738. I mean, that's. I understand that for some people, especially kids of these days, they're making friends with people they never physically meet in their life, but it's not real friendship. That's not really a connection to a person.
They could be talking to artificial intelligence as far as it's been.
It could be. It could be. It definitely could be.
I mean, they think they have this buddy. It's just a computer in Thailand or something.
Could be a pedophile. 300 pounds in someone's basement and going.
Where's Cheetos?
Hey kid.
For sure.
Yeah, and you sort of need those connections in life, and we live in a time where we're disconnected from people the most because of social media, who's supposed to connect us, but yet sort of separates us in a weird way. I mean, I noticed you're not on Facebook, and I get on Facebook and I think, why am I even on here? Because it's just arguing.
But the thing is, maybe you kind of needed and wanted to have it for the exposure of your podcast. And my wife, she started.
Well, and family.
Yeah, and my
wife.
Like,
oh, I didn't know it was my niece's birthday. Oh, happy birthday!
Yeah, my wife and I, we never had Facebook, or only thing I have is Instagram. I do like Instagram, and but my wife has a Facebook now because she started doing a little bit of travel agency for Disney.
Oh, okay.
And she does quite well with it.
And that was my wife.
And yeah, I know, right? And that's the only reason why she started. But at times she's kind of like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have to have it, But no, I definitely my wife said I'm on the phone too much, but I actually just read the news. I'm a news junkie and stuff like that. I don't really am on there on social media communicate with people. Not at all. I don't like that. I rather either call you and hear you or see you. But I mainly use it really just keep up with sports and news in my country and the world. Yeah.
Is there a way you keep up with news, or is it like certain news sources, or on Twitter? I use Twitter mostly to find out what's going on in the world.
I have some apps that I get pop-ups and stuff, and if I find it interesting, I open it and read it. I read daily the Czech newspaper Thruly online, which is like the USA Today, our Czech newspaper online. Thruly, just with the economy and politics and mainly sports in my country. I keep up Thruly every day. By the way, the Czechs are playing Canada at 1 Eastern p.m. today at the World Hockey Championship in Bratislava, Slovakia. So go Czechs.
That's awesome. Do you think that this is one of my thoughts? Do you think that the older you get and you start keeping up with more and more news, that it makes you crazy a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's not to the extent that I used to. Actually, I would watch like back then. You know, you had Bill O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
I was there sitting there every night watching it, and then following up with other news and stuff like that. And then I get angrier and angrier, and kind of just too consumed with it. And then like sometimes I just read the headlights and I need what I need to do. I got away from actually following too much of it.
Yeah, I've watched my wife's dad. He's a big Fox News guy, and he watches it so much that in a way he's like all in. So whatever they say, he's like, oh yeah, that's definitely the way it is.
No,
and he's not. I've sort of, I don't know if it's because I was raised in Southern Baptist churches. You're always raised to listen, but also question and go, is this guy crazy?
Yeah.
so you sort of have a bit of disbelief into anything you hear, and so I want to hear different people's opinions from different sources. Mm-hmm. So like I catch up on the news through Twitter, and I follow different sources, like CBS, Fox News, Al Jazeera Network,
Same here.
Any BBC
News.
There's a lot of different versions of the news, and you just kind of want to know some information. But also, today's news sources are all about numbers and advertising, and they feel like they have to draw you in with their own sort of agenda just so that they can keep an audience. And I think it's all driven by this idea of fear brings clicks, which is the whole thing with Facebook. If we keep putting stuff out there, the algorithm is set up so that everything generates more clicks, and people click more on fear-based things than they do good things. Yeah, which is weird, but it's a reality, and it's easy to start up a debate here in this country with simple things that people are passionate about, but it totally distracts from things that are really going on, and the algorithms are all built to just continue this fear and to make people crazy in a way. I mean, it wasn't intentional, but that's what it's doing.
No, I agree. And you said you gotta kind of watch and read different sources about the same thing, and I done that and I do that, but then after a while I'm like, well, now I really don't know. Mm-hmm. And so I know what's going on and what they are saying and what he's saying, what she's saying, and this and that. But at the same time, I mean, it's so many different variations and in those stories and reports that I'm like, okay, well, I know what's going on, but I have no idea what really is going on.
In a weird way, it's sort of like the idea of a vacation tends to be, I just want to go somewhere where I don't hear about anything.
For sure.
Again, we talk about the idea of at the end of the day, you just want to go home and sit on the back porch and go, oh, listen, birds.
No, I mean,
I can't imagine what it's like for one of these guys who have these jobs that they're tied into everything all the time. They never get a break. And
I couldn't be a news anchor. They have to be on top of stuff and things, and I don't know. And every day, night and out, they have to
I'm watching
get ready.
This,
it's crazy.
You ever watch the show on Netflix, House of Cards?
Mm-hmm.
I've just started watching it. Kevin Spacey plays a politician, a congressman who has his finger on the pulse of everything all the time. People are bringing him news all the time, and he has his own agenda of how he's trying to steer things, and it's a dramatization of things that are really happening in our government. But at the same time, you go, well, geez, no wonder you guys never think about us. You've only got your own agenda that you're thinking about, and it's all controlled by special interest groups, and it's all like the whole idea of of the people, for the people, by the people is sort of left on the wayside, and you tend to gravitate. I feel like I tend to gravitate towards people who are running for office who have more of a common man approach of, listen, this is what we need. We need, like Obama talked about change. Trump talked about jobs, border security, stuff like that. And the border security thing makes me crazy because do I think there needs to be a wall? No. The idea that you're born on a piece of dirt versus another piece of dirt, you go, no, you can't cross that piece of line, the imaginary line there, because you were born on that piece of dirt, and you're the bad guy. Well, why? I think the whole idea of his, wall was the idea that they were going to bring crime across this imaginary border, and yet, why?
But you don't think they do?
No, not any more than we do here.
But why add to it if they're illegal? And that's speaking of somebody who...
Oh, I know. Here, let me
became legal.
Let me reset. So...
I know that
during Obama's administration, they decided to give citizenship to something like 2 million people. I don't exactly know the numbers, but they just overnight were just like, all right, we're just going to grant these 2 million people citizenship. They've been here for their whole lives and whatever. And people were a bit outraged, like the American people on social media were outraged. But as far as all the constituents were, thinking it's, hey, if we get them in the system, then we give them social security numbers, and they're paying taxes now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're paying into the system that they're using.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only right, they've been here anyway, might as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Trump comes in and goes, no, we got to get rid of all these people that don't belong here. And there is the idea of terrorism and threats, and we learn about the Patriot Act, listening to every one of our conversations, and through Julia Assange and Edward Snowden.
That was Julia. That's a weird story, isn't it?
That is a weird story.
I just don't know.
I don't know why Snowden's considered a criminal. He basically only said, hey, they're listening to every conversation, not just terrorist groups. And they're like, oh, he's a terrorist. No, he's actually just a guy who's telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we treat him like he's the bad guy, and he's not. And but you grant all these people citizenship, and then you say, okay, well, they're allowed, but these other people aren't because they're obviously bad. Well, why? Because they grew up on a different piece of dirt. Now, I'd feel differently, obviously, if I lived in Texas and I had people walking across my land every day. I'd be like, where are you coming from? Why are you on my land? But I guess being here, we're a little bit isolated in the fact that we only see it in the restaurants that we work, where there's suddenly a large Latino influence of people working in them. But if I were born in another country and I was that close to a country who's doing better than mine, and there was opportunity there, I'd go, well, I got to figure out a way to be there. And why? What makes anybody think that putting up a wall is going to stop that? You just go around the wall. Or go around it, or under it, or over it, or water
it's
is
not
bigger.
going to be either way. It's
Most
not going to be
people fly into
bulletproof.
this country. I watched there was a show, Adam Ruins Everything, and he talks about how most people who are here illegally actually fly here.
Mm-hmm.
They fly here legally on a visa to come visit, and then they can
And
stay.
they stay, yeah.
Yeah. So a wall is just a waste of money that you're never going to be able to pay for, ever.
But
It's going to take
at the same time,
over 100 years to pay for it.
You
through taxes.
won't have like a dangerous wanted guy or a terrorist. It won't be as easy for him to fly. And then if you secure the border, then you have at least a little bit of a chance, maybe control some of it. I don't know. I'm just a big supporter, not the wall, but making this country secure. I agree. I think that. And it's weird because people were telling me when Trump was being elected, you better go and get your citizenship. He's going to deport you. And I'm like,
Really?
yeah. And I'm like,
Were you really worried about it?
no, I wasn't, because I was here always legally. I always came either on a sport professional athlete's visa, or as soon as I got here, I got a social security card. I always paid taxes. Then I properly applied for a green card through my marriage, which was a true marriage, not a fake one. And I went through the interviews where I had to bring everything. With my ex-wife, we had to go, and I had to bring pictures from our honeymoon. We already had a child at that time, so that was,
Yeah.
And so that went on for 2 years. I got a green card. And when my green card was going to expire after 10 years, which is just an easy renewal, as long as you don't have a record or any reasons why, I just decided, why would I renew it for 10 years for this amount of money, which if I'm living here and I'm just going to become a citizen. I applied for my citizenship. Trump was already in office. 2 months. My interviews were, but not 5 or 10 minutes. First, biometrics. Second time I drove up there for interview and the citizenship test, and it was 10 minutes. And I asked him, that's it. He goes, yep, easy for me. The next day they called me to be sworn in. I was done.
Wow.
Because I've always been here illegally, no criminal record, paid taxes, social security, everything. So it's not that hard to become a citizen if you do things right. And I just have a little bit. I agree, and I see what you're saying. I just have a little bit of different opinion. I think this country should a little bit more protect their borders and see who is coming in. And you know, I mean, I can say we now because I'm a citizen of this country. I'm proud of it, and we can't accept everybody and everything. We can't. It's impossible.
Well, I don't know if you've ever been to New York and done the Ellis Island tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they
a long time ago, I've done it.
People coming, you know, on the boat, they'd go to Ellis Island first, and they would say, "Do you have a job? Do you have an ability? You look a little sick. Are you sick?" If you were sick, they'd send you back. If you couldn't make a living, they'd send you back.
That you never step.
You could have a pink eye, and they'd be like, "Nope, you're diseased. Go back."
And exactly. So I don't know why is everybody outraged about all this, because that's been here since the beginning of this country.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny. You know what? I don't know if you saw the commercial about Budweiser. Whoever started Budweiser, the Eisenhower Bush, whatever.
Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah. So it was one of
Bush.
the Super Bowl commercials where he gets to United States back then, you know, like through Ellis Island, whatever, and he's a dream to start a beer, but they show him walking through streets of New York, and everybody's shouting at him, "Go home! What you want here? Go back home!" But he is coming obviously from Germany, whatever he was descent. But these people yelling at him at the street are also...
They just came there too.
They were like Italians and different ones. So I was like, this commercial doesn't make sense. They're telling somebody who just got here like them to go back to his old country and home. I mean, that was on their part not very thought through, because they was dumb. I mean, now if you would have Native Americans standing there telling him, then it makes a little bit of a sense.
Not only that, but even Budweiser is now bought by a company from overseas.
No, I think they're owned by South African company. That's one of the biggest. Matter of fact, they actually own Pilsner Urquell Brewery too.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of sad.
Well, deep pockets and all that.
Yeah, right.
I guess that's their version of diversify.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear people talk about, you need to diversify your money. Hey, let's just buy a bunch of breweries. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
Geez. Wow. Yeah, you know, and I'm also of the opinion of, you know, making sure that everybody's safe and everybody's in here for the right reasons, but it's really hard to do with a country this size. And there is a reality that this country offers a lot more opportunity than a lot of other places, and a lot of that has to do with the government, the way it's set up, and the businesses who flock here. And I think Trump has had a little hand in that lately too, with influencing tariffs, and so that companies want to have their business here in America. I noticed recently Ford said that they're closing down their Mexican plant and they're going to add 900 jobs here in America. And I'm like, wow, that's a huge step compared to where they were 10 years ago. I mean, they were sending jobs away as fast as possible. And even though Trump is very polarizing and pisses people off, even the people who support him, you know, you hear about success business-wise like that, and I can't help but think that the future is going to be all about jobs, because we all need opportunity. We all need a way for things to be able to take care of our kids. Our population isn't shrinking. Our population is growing like crazy, and you know, you hear more and more about automation and about, you know, self-driving cars and self-driving trucks, and it's like, what's going to happen if all those jobs disappear for the people? You know, if we don't continue to go after the innovation and change, then at some point do you think that I don't know, I'm getting way out here on a tangent, but do you think that there's options, or is it, okay, we've done as much as we can here, it's time to start this in another country? Or I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen, you know, with our kids and with our kids' kids of the future. And so, would it be an issue then, or do you think it might be something for way off in the future?
So you think like that we would outgrow this country?
Yes. Like
population-wise, resource-wise, and just had to.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of this country where there's no people.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we talk about how
look at what, Wyoming or whatever. I mean,
there's more antelope than there are people for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot in our state here in South Carolina where you just drive along and there's nothing but swampland or trees, and it's like, okay, well, the cities are populated, but Like there's all this other land where nobody's at that we could still live in. I mean, it's not it's not an idea of lack of land right now. More, I guess what I'm saying is lack of jobs. Sort of like, okay, let's think about this. You know, innovation always happens somewhere along the way, and things have come up. But innovation has happened rapidly in the last 100 years with cars, televisions, radios, computers, supercomputers. We now have flat screen TVs. I mean, but in our lifetime, okay, I'm 45, you're 42, okay. In our lifetime, you know, I remember having a 13-inch black and white TV, and that was considered the nicest of the time. And now it's no big deal to have a 70-inch flat screen,
or several of them. And in the next 45 years, where is that technology going to grow? And I, in a way, I'm sort of nervous of the fact that people are going to stop buying things because they're like, why would I want to buy another one? I've got these. These work just fine. You know, and there is the pushback from people of buying things that are assembled broken. You know, the idea of I'm going to buy a fridge and I know within 10 years it's going to be dead. Yeah.
Where back in the day they'd make a fridge that lasted you 30, 40 years with no problems.
And they figure out, hey, we're going to run ourselves out of business.
Yeah.
We're making it too good.
So I mean, you know, there is the idea of, are we going to run out of jobs at some point, and then have to look to other countries to go, well, let's just start up something in one of these countries that aren't doing as well, and maybe grow from there.
I think that catastrophes and illnesses and all this somehow will control a population for some reason. I think that it's just
that's very possible. Yeah.
It just won't happen. I think the nature and everything else, it just won't happen. It just won't happen. And it's funny, you know, like you ever read like the Illuminatis and all that stuff, and they have these things where there's written, don't let the world's population exceed this number.
Yeah.
I think there is something in place not to let it. I have a lot of theories about. That's another probably podcast, but
oh yeah.
No,
I definitely want to have another podcast with you.
I don't mean to say it like that, but
crazy stuff.
Elon Musk just scares me. He scares me.
He fascinates me and
at the same time. At the same time,
I
I think he is sponsored by the government. I don't know if this one, but some. He has a company that just strictly researches how to download your brain into a computer.
Yeah,
why would you?
Singularity.
So why would you want to have that capability of doing that?
Well, everybody. This is, like you said, this is a whole other podcast we can get into. But
I mean, I think that's because you want to live forever. So if you can clone your body and recloning and making new and keep putting a brain in it. So I think the elites are getting ready to live forever.
I think there's the hope. I think that nobody wants to face their own mortality because there's the fear of what's next.
But we won't have the access to it.
Right.
We won't. Elon Musk might clone himself and relearn and live forever, and some elite. I know. My wife is gonna be so mad because she thinks I'm crazy. but think about it. Why, if you can download your brain into a computer and then possibly reload it back to new body, then you are in more.
Well, why would you need a body?
Here we go.
I mean,
it could be the brain in the jar.
With artificial intelligence, I mean, in the few instances that they've made an artificial intelligence, they realize that it can absorb all the information that's in the world in a matter of seconds, and not only that, but self-learn in a rate that is exponentially faster than we can do.
And you're right.
And it doesn't forget any of the information. It's all on hard drive.
And you're perfectly right. This could be all imagination. It doesn't. We don't have to have the bodies. Our brain, and everything. Mine made us think we have hands, body, and we are experiencing wind and sun and what. It can be all brain initiated.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go into this because
Listen, this is a whole other podcast. Yeah. We're going to pick this up again. I would like to say that one of the first times you and I rode together, I knew that right away I wanted to talk to you more. Was we were riding to the beach, and you were like, I hope you like this kind of stuff, but I'm going to listen to this weird radio program. And right away it was this guy talking about being abducted by aliens, and they picked me up from my tractor. And I was like,
that's funny.
Oh, he's one of my people. I'm going to dig this. This is funny. You turn it down at some point and go, this is crazy, right? I was like, I like it. And you're like,
coast to coast. Coast to coast. Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, I want to hang out with Yann more and talk more because this is great.
I love those stories. I love
So listen, we're going to wrap this up because we've been about over an hour. It's an hour and 10 minutes. Wow. But I do want to do this again. I kind of wanted this to be like the first time that you do it, and I was very curious about a lot of the stuff that you talked about, and I thought, well, if I'm curious, surely other people are curious too, and it is interesting to think about, like I said, growing up in a different part of the world and realizing at some point that, holy crap, I've met someone who's from the other side of the world and now lives here, and it just fascinates me. The whole idea fascinates me. The language change fascinates me. I've asked you in the past, when you dream, is there a certain language you dream in, or is it like, that's good, I've been in America now, I just dream in English now, or is it like back and forth, or?
I will have to pay attention to it next time I have a dream.
I mean, it's just, but
be honest with you.
I know it's stupid, but that's how my brain works. Is I'm curious about the things that nobody really talks about. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I never paid attention. If I can remember a dream, I can even think last time when I could remember a dream or had one. Well, you have one every night, you just don't remember it, or few every night. But I will have to pay attention and think about it next time I remember one.
So anyway, I did want to get this done and get the first one out of the way because I feel like we can do this again if you're comfortable.
I am definitely comfortable. I was a little nervous, didn't know, but you led me the right way. Like we had a few questions, and then things come to my head that I could talk about on top of that, and one topic leads to another, and I gotta say I had a super great time, and I did enjoy it.
And the idea is, like I said, just a conversation.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be about anything. Like you can really drive this.
This is great. This is great. I feel like I don't have to talk the rest of the day. I got everything. So my wife is safe, and she comes home from work, and
she's like, "Oh my God, we got the job today."
No, I enjoyed it, and I'm thankful, and thank you for having me.
All right. Well, hey everybody, if you want to give Yann a shout out, you can reach out through my connections and I'll let him know that you said hello or whatever. Or if you have any questions, like send me a message. I know that one of the sponsor things I use on this is the Anchor sponsor, where it has voice messaging, and you can leave a question and I'll figure out how to input it in here. I'm learning that technology, but I'll do it. If you have a question you want to write us, look at the Stuff I Heard podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and give me some feedback. So anyway, to the YouTube folks, I'm waving at you. Bye! And we're going to sign off from here. Thank you for listening, and please feel free to share and rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. And this is where my wife likes me to say, cue the cow.
That's great.
And I hit the button.